Okay, so now we're comparing two groups. We're going to be either finding the difference between two groups, if we're doing an interval, how much higher we think one group is than another, or if we're doing a hypothesis test, we're either just saying, yes, we have evidence one group is bigger than the other, or we don't have that evidence. So we're always measuring the difference between two groups. Question 2 here, I'm going to talk about a little more in a minute, but I didn't like it. I've withdrawn it. I know some of you have already started it, but it's just really, it's not a very well written question. It's unclear, excuse me, who to use for group 1 and group 2. And then it says something about averages, and there are no, that's just wrong. I didn't write this question. There are no averages here. We shouldn't be saying the word average. Okay, let's take a look at question 1 here. So we've got, I'm going to copy and paste this over. I'm going to write this one out. I just created it. Okay, first thing we got to realize is we're doing proportions, not means. Everything on test 3 is going to be proportions. We won't have any X bars. We won't have any sigmas. It's all proportions. Everything on test 4 is means. Okay, next thing we got to decide is, are we doing an interval or a hypothesis test? Hypothesis tests will always say something like test, or that a lot of times they even say the words hypothesis. Confidence intervals always, every single time, say confidence. Say we got the word confidence right there. This is a confidence interval. Next, we got to decide how many groups do we have? Do we just have one group or two groups? I mean, this is obviously, I mean, we've literally labeled them, group 1 and group 2. So this is a 2-prop interval. They're all going to be prop. We know it's an interval because it says confidence interval, confidence right there. We know it's 2 because we literally have 2 groups. So I know what button to use before I even get too far. I can come here into stat, over to tests. I'm looking for a button that says 2-prop interval. That's button B. Remember, on test 3, you're only going to use 5, 6, A, and B. Write that down, 5, 6, A, and B. And see, look, I can come here and I can see exactly what I need to figure out to get the answers. I'm going to need 2 X's and 2 N's and my confidence level. Okay, but we're going to write this one out in its entirety. We're going to start with let P be the proportion of, well, this is kind of a word or a math problem, right? They don't tell us what success is. They don't tell us what our population is. So I guess trials that had successes. Okay, and then we're going to have 2 groups, group 1 and group 2. Now, these are always easier if you get to choose who's group 1 and group 2. And if you choose to make group 1 the bigger one, that one with the higher p hat, the math works out better. So if you get to choose, always choose group 1 to be the one with the higher p hat. In this case, I don't get a choice. They already chose for me, so I'm kind of stuck here. I'm going to have an X, an N, and a P hat in each group. You got to know what the symbols stand for. If you just start tossing random numbers around, you're going to have a bad time. X is the number of successes in the sample. So sample 1 had 28 successes. X is never a percentage, it's a whole number. In, like, we're in like week 11 now. If you don't know what N stands for, I don't know how you gotten this far, I'm going to be honest. N is the sample size. Like literally since day one, we've talked about N. N is the sample size. There were 53 there. Okay, then in group 2, we had 12 successes out of 51. And then the p hats are always X divided by N. So 28 out of 53, 0.528. And then the other one, was it 12 out of 51? 0.235. Oops. Now remember, everybody gets different numbers. When you do this problem, you'll probably have different numbers. In my case, notice this guy is bigger than this one. That's what you'll want. Group 1 should have the higher p hat. Now, in these homework problems, I can't promise that's going to happen. You know, I didn't write these questions. Sometimes just it picks random numbers, and sometimes it's going to be backwards here. If you get to choose who your column 1 and 2, this is my recommendation. Choose it like this. You would like P1 hat bigger than P2 hat. It makes the interpretation much easier. Okay, we got our setup. Now we just type some numbers in the calculator. We go over to tests and we go to B. So 28, 53, 12 and 51. Yeah, 12. Oops. And I think we were doing 90%. Be careful there. That's the one people forget to change. They just always want to leave the confidence level. 90% and hit enter. And there's my interval. 14.4 to 44.2. What's 442? Yeah. Okay, so like that's all the work. That's all the math. It's really figuring out 4 numbers and then counting that one, 5 numbers, typing them in the calculator and hitting enter. The hardest part now is interpreting this. What does this mean? Hey, if you start a sentence like this, I'm going to start typing here. If you start your sentence with 90% of, you're 100% wrong. I don't care what you write after that. It's not 90% of anybody did anything. The confidence level is not 90% of something. It's we are 90% confident that make this bigger so you can read it better. That group 1 is between that and that higher than group 2. So I could say like this, the sample per, or the success rate, let's say it like that. Success rate for group 1 is between, I'm going to turn these into percentages, 14.4% and 44.2% higher than the success rate for group 2. That's always the case, always. Every single time you're finding how much higher group 1 is than group 2. If both of your numbers are positive, you're pretty darn sure group one is better at whatever it is we're trying to measure. If both numbers are negative, well, that means, what's it mean to be negative higher? Negative higher means lower. It means really you should have swapped your groups. You should have made the other one group one. It means group two is the one that's actually higher if both numbers are negative. If you get a negative and a positive, then you don't know who's better. Maybe one's better, maybe two's better. Okay, so again, I've withdrawn this question because like whoever chose it literally chose it backwards. All our numbers are negative here. And they say the word on average, which they shouldn't say. But let's do it anyways, just so we can get a little more experience here. So I'll come down here. Oh, let's see, that would be that one. I don't even know where to put it. There it is. Okay, notice here, they don't even tell me who to use for group one or group two. This is another reason I took this question out. They don't tell me, but whoever wrote the question made a choice and they chose Ruby to be group one, even though they really shouldn't have. Like if they were following my advice, what's the other? Sapphire has a higher sample rate. They should have chosen them to be group one. So I just know this was going to cause problems when you guys were trying this on your own. I know what you would have chosen, and it would have made things more difficult. That's why I took the question out. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is define our variable. So let P be, what is it we're measuring here? So we're preparing dishes and some proportion are sent back to the kitchen. The proportion of dishes sent back to the kitchen. Okay, then we got our two groups. So we've got Ruby versus Sapphire. Each group is going to come with their own X, N, and P hat. And ideally, notice I have not written 1, 2 yet. Ideally, what you would do is wait until you have all your numbers and then choose whoever has the higher P hat to be group one. Okay, so what do we have? Ruby had 148 dishes. Of those, 58 were successful. Successful means sent back. So 58 and 148. And over here, what have we got? 152. That one, like, obviously we don't have to do anything here. This is 52% or 0.52. 58 out of 148, 39. Was it 392? Okay, if you were leaving this up to me, I would call these guys group one because they have the higher P hat. I would do this. Whoever wrote this question, though, did not do that. I know by looking at the answers that they've chosen this. So let's type in the numbers this way and see what we get. So we're going to go stat, over to tests, and down to B. You know, you can go up also. Either way, it cycles around. All right, so what we got? 58, 148, 52, and 100. And I don't remember. I'm just going to look here. 94, like what a weird confidence level. 94%, 0.94. We hit calculate, and we're done. And we got two negative numbers. Again, the reason we got two negative numbers is we chose the wrong group to be group one. But we're going to go with it. Let's write that down. So negative 2486 and negative 0076. Okay, our interpretation is always, every single time, we are blank percent confident that group one is between, or let's say it this way, the success rate for group one is between the lower and the upper, higher than the success rate for two, right, for group two. That's always your interpretation. So let's try to figure out how we would say that here. That since both of our numbers are negative, we're going to have to start thinking about what this means. Oh, I want the writer. So we'll say here we are 94, that was my confidence level, percent confident that, what was success? The proportion of dishes sent back. The proportion, maybe I should have typed this, of dishes. It literally takes longer to write this out than it does to do the rest of the problem. Sent back for group one is between, don't forget the word between. That's an abbreviation right there. I'll write it out. Between negative 0.2486. I'm not even going to bother turning these into percentages. And negative 0.0076 higher than the proportion for group two. Oh, wait, what was group one? And group one was ruby. And group two was for sapphire. Okay, what does it mean to be negative higher? It means lower. So another way I could have written this that would make more sense is we are 95%, 94% confident that the proportion of dishes sent back for ruby is between, and here I'll go ahead and turn these into percentages, 0.76%. So I've moved my decimal point 2 places, and 24.86% lower than the proportion for sapphire. Notice I had to swap the order there because this is a smaller number in absolute value. So negative higher just means lower. So another way I could have said this same sentence is just putting them in the other order. We're 94% confident the proportion sent back for Sapphire is between those two numbers higher than. Sapphire is winning this competition in terms of who's getting the most dishes sent back. Sapphire has higher percentages. Okay, so that's getting two negatives. Two negatives means you probably should have called this group group one, and then you would have ended up with two positive numbers, and writing the sentence is a lot easier. Okay, what happens when you get a negative and a positive? Like here. Okay, so let's do this question. Kind of doing half your homework for you, aren't I? Oh, is that the biggest? Yeah. Oh, I've made it mad now. What did I do? There we go. I'm just trying to grab this box and make it bigger so we can read it. Okay. So first thing we want to do is identify our variable. Writing that sentence at the end is impossible if you don't know what you're talking about. What is it you're calling success? What is it what's your population? So the first thing you always got to do is define your variable. Here, I'll type it out. So let P be. No, we never mention the groups here. When we're defining our variable, we're talking about our entire population. So I've got two different groups. I've got families with kids and families without kids. And I want to know whether or not success, they put up holiday decorations. So what are these? What's my entire group? Some of them have kids, some of them don't. Some of what? Families. So my population is all families. Let P be the proportion of all families that put up holiday or display, that's how they say it, decorations. Notice I didn't mention either group here. Same on every one of these. I'm defining my entire population, all families, successes, they put up decorations. Then I have my two groups. So with kids, and then no kids. Each group is going to have an X, an N, and a P hat. Okay, again, I didn't write this question. They don't tell us which one to use. So honestly, I'm going to have to do the problem and figure out which one they used as group one. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm totally lying. They did right there. They told us group one and group two. Yeah, it's right there in the problem. So they told us to use this as one and this as two. So we won't have a choice there. Okay, so here we have 40 out of 82. Here we have 38 out of 67. So normally I would find my P hats before choosing one and two. Since they've already chosen, honestly, I don't even have to find these. On a written, anything that's written that you guys are turning into me, make sure you find these. But here, since I'm just typing in the calculator and then typing in my answers, like I've spent more time talking about this than it would have been quicker just to find them. I don't mathematically have to find those numbers to solve the problem. I can just go right into the button, stat, over to tests, up to B, type my numbers, 40, 82, 38, and 67. We want to be 99% confident. Remember, the more confident you are, the bigger your margin of error is going to be. That's going to be a test question. As the confidence level goes up, your margin of error goes up. If your confidence level, or if your sample size goes up, your margin of error will go down. I would write those two down. Okay, so we get these two numbers. Same numbers they got. The question is, how do we write the sentence if you get a negative and a positive? So again, I'm going to write it again. We are 99% confident the success rate. What's success? Putting up holiday decorations. The proportion, I said twice, of families with kids that put up decorations or display is between smaller and larger. -29, +13. And +13% higher than the proportion of families without kids. So what does that mean? What's it mean to be negative higher? That means lower. So instead of this reads weird. What do you mean negative higher? A better way to say this sentence is take out that negative there and just put the word lower after the number. The one that was negative, we're just going to put the word lower after it. So we're 99% confident that families with kids, the proportion of them, the fraction, the percentage of them that put up holiday decorations is someplace between 29% lower and 13% higher. So maybe they're lower, maybe they're higher. So who wins? We have no idea. There's no clear winner here. So if somebody just says, okay, which group puts up more holiday decorations, families with kids or without, we would go, I don't know. If you get a negative and a positive, you don't know who wins. If both are positive, group 1 wins. If both are negative, group 2 wins.